close your mics. If whatever you want to raise a question or a comment, please raise your hand button and click on it for us just to know that you want to be participating. Please present yourself into the chat, say your name, organizations, and where are you speaking from. And well, enjoy the ride. And let's begin with no further ado. As I mentioned, we hope to be having a very open and connected discussion. So just starting with my presentation, I am a member from Catalyst for a year now. I'm here in the Brazilian chapter. I work as a mental health ecosystem builder. So my current position description is a pollinizer. So I like to connect the dots and integrate different sectors related to mental health and how these should be highlighted into all policies. And why did I choose and why do I work for mental health? Because my lived experience. So talking about this need that to have nowadays to be advocates, to be leaders, to be entrepreneurs, is the connection with our own well-being and how much we connect and understand ourselves. I have a background in business and marketing and innovation, but 6 years ago, I shifted my career to launch SoulBeegood, which is a mental health venture builder. And now we are working. Could you please press the slide, Cindy? And now, actually, with all the busy agenda, one thing that I really, hey, Cindy, can you just hear me? Yeah. So as I mentioned, well, my lived experience drove what I do now. So mostly I focus on prioritize investments for children and adolescents' mental health. And the way that I believe that we can do that, besides this interconnection within ourselves, is to use different mechanisms such art and such the promotion of the protagonism of young people and put them into the spot in order to create the solutions that we, the grown-ups, are not able to manage or to solve. Can you please pass it to me? We had a huge, in this context, we had a huge disaster last year in the south of Brazil, the floods in the Rio Grande do Sul state. And this just leveraged our commitment into do something in order to avoid future disasters and mostly to promote resilient and sustainable system. And this is what actually drives me right now. Could you please pass, Cindy? And as I mentioned to you before, so the way that we are doing that is connecting communities, is engaging with the young people, art as a mechanism to drive those changes and actually to build a high impact ecosystem. So we are collaborating now with Catalyst now, and it's part of the advisory board of an initiative that we are working on. In order to foster this creation and the scale of high impact ecosystems. So what is a high impact ecosystem? Actually is a model in which we foster collaboration, multi-sector collaborations to drive and to solve big problems. And the problem that we choose to do that is actually the guarantee that mental health is stated as a human right, especially for young children and to adolescents. Could you please pass, Cindy? What we expect actually to get from the results from this high impact ecosystem is actually to build a collective advocacy agenda throughout important international forums. So the idea here is not just to build the agenda, but is also to build the agenda and provide the voices to young people to be present there and also to advocate for the things that they want to be changing in the high volatile and high crisis world that we live in. Most important, to leverage discussions about sustainable financing and how these models could supplement the current crisis that we are living related to access to investments and access to capital to be addressed in those areas. I don't need to mention all this situation, explain to you all the context of USAID and how US is pulling out the resources from this context. But the idea here is actually to strengthen local funding and local funding mechanisms to reduce the dependence on international aid. Yes, indeed. So, as I mentioned, there is a saying in Africa that I like very much. I will just do this cultural appropriation and relates to if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. And the previous slide is actually the organizations that are fully committed within these objectives, which include catalysts. So, with no further ado, I would like to welcome our two special speakers that we have today for our discussions. So, I'd like to introduce Tam and Eidi. Please introduce yourselves and let's move with the agenda. Thank you.
Hey everyone, can you hear me? Perfect. So thank you so much everyone for joining, and it's really a pleasure to be with all of you in this room. My name is Tam. I'm calling from Montreal, Canada. I'm the founder of Empurpose. At the same time, collaborate with Canada Catalyst now in a research project that we work with. We interview professors teaching social entrepreneurship in higher ed, and we want to see like how inner well-being as well as system thinking are taught at school. So everything that I shared today is in that context. So first of all, is really the experience of teachers interacting with young people, especially students who want to be change makers, who want to be social entrepreneurs. And the second one is my work working with incubators, working with early stage social entrepreneurs. So I've seen a lot of them coming in with the ideas, want to change the world, want to make an impact, and walk them through the journey of like system thinking and system mapping to make that happen. So just to give you a little bit of context so that you understand better about what I would share today. The second one, before we jump into the details, is really, I think it's good right now that we see a lot of webinars and materials, resources shared in terms of well-being and inner well-being and mental health. But at the same time, we stop seeing the definition of what exactly is the inner well-being, etc. So you can see people use it interchangeably between like happiness, quality of life, life satisfaction, etc. For this project specifically, this research project, I love one of the definition in the research that we did in the literature review. They said that like inner well-being reflects what people think and feel about what they are able to be and do. So those are the things that I want you to keep in mind when we discuss the interconnection between inner well-being as well as change-making process. So next slide, Cindy. Perfect. So starting from here, I will explore with you the connection, as I said, between inner well-being and change-making using two circle. Usually on the left, you'll be able to see something related to inner well-being, and on the right will be change-making. So let's start with like, based on the research, based on my work with like early stage entrepreneurs, what do we see as change making without inner well-being aspect? So you can see the circle on the right now. Those are visible traits and symptoms that you usually see in change makers and social entrepreneurs. In the incubator that I work with, we support at least like 50 social entrepreneurs per year. And we have a good number enough to see the patterns that there is a group of people that come in. And first of all, they are passionate about solving a problem. but they only see the symptoms, the surface of the problem, instead of diving deeper into the invisible in terms of the pattern or the root cause of any problem. So you can see here, like the very first layer, people usually tackle just the events, what actually happened. There's one lady that come in and then say like, oh, I would like to support like homeless people. And what she's only able to see is them not having access to phone. And that's what she wants to do. But like she's unwilling to actually dive deeper into like, okay, what actually caused that? What can be a more sustainable solution? So that turned into her or a lot of other early stage social entrepreneurs at this point feeling being constrained by the system, where we see the system as immovable, unchangeable, and have a passive acceptance of systemic barriers. That eventually influenced their way of developing solution to solve any social or environmental problems, which most of the time are short-term solution that can solve the visible part, can create immediate outcome, but not really a sustainable one. And finally, another thing that we see are the us and the us versus them mindset, where they are unable to see the connections among like different events, patterns happening around the problems, and look at the ecosystem as a whole. And because of that, they are unable to work on forming partnership or collaboration. Now we're going to move on the circle on the left. So next slide, Cindy. So you can see here that those are the inner state that they have when they show up and not being able to find a sustainable solution or sustainable change-making process. We usually ask them to actually do the inner well-being check-in at the very beginning of like starting a change-making process. And you can see like a couple of them usually feel very indecisive about the direction of the business, about the direction of solution, because they are unable to see a bigger picture, what connects with what, and what are some causal relationship in the system. Second one, I guarantee that you will see a lot also in your network, is the survival mode and financial self-abuse. Especially in the social sector and the people work in the social chains, constantly undervalue their work. For example, they overwork without proper compensation, or believe that like money care shouldn't be the priority in the change-making world. Or they even feel guilty about talking about money or sacrifice their personal financial stability for the sake of impact. And remember that like sense of being constrained by the system, usually it will also influence their way of feeling like powerless, feeling a sense of helplessness. And eventually the isolation, they usually feel lonely on the journey, and that like not being able to collaborate with anybody. So the two arrows here represent very well the general themes. When the inner well-being is disconnected from the change-making process, social innovators to entrepreneurs in such case usually go through emotional roller coaster and a lack of purpose and direction, especially when we work with like young people or mid-career professional that very engaged in the change-making process, but not really prepare the inner state very well. Those are the two things that you see that people suffer a lot. Now, what does that look like for the change making with inner well-being? This one, so next slide. This one, it also reflects very well in the research that we did with like educators in the social entrepreneurship sector. When we ask them like, how do you prepare your student to be able to navigate through the complexity of the system? How do they make sure that they have the emotional intelligence and support needed for that journey? The first thing comes in is the self-reflection, which means they engaged deeply with their own lived experience. They understand how their backgrounds, values, assumption can shape their individual perspective. So they are able to unlearn any biases that they have, and from there develop critical thinking and curiosity. The second layers of that is self-awareness, where they bridge their like individual backgrounds with the surrounding, with the environment around them. And they are aware about their sense of self, and they are able to claim personal agency rather than being victimized by the system. Once the self-reflection and self-awareness being developed and cultivated, usually resilience and empathy will come in. Resilience is truly ability to navigate through uncertainty while stay grounded in the values, in the ethics, and being able to navigate through any kind of setbacks, risk, or ethical dilemma. And empathy is the ability to have gain strong intuition and trust that, have emotional intelligence. Usually the people in the change making work, they are already very sensitive with other people's needs, but at the same time, inner well-being already also emphasized the ability to be sensitive and considerate to your own self needs as well. So that lead to the next one, which is the change making process. How does that look like when you actually see people have a very strong inner state? So the first one is really understand the problem from the very root cause. They are able to see it at a bigger picture with the interconnections among all different elements. And because of that, they are able to develop practical and sustainable solution. Understand that the system can influence people's way of thinking and acting, but at the same time use it as a leverage to actually make system change. For the research that we did, we focus a lot in terms of like competencies development. So see the next slide. You will be able to see the two arrows that support the connection between inner well-being as well as the change-making process, that the social and relationship competencies support the person to actually connect their empathy, their self-awareness to the interconnection and collaboration within the system and make the system change happen. At the same time, cognitive and business competency support student, young people, and aspiring change makers to turn off the resilience to self-reflection into like practical solution and start their change making process in a meaningful way. So next slide. These are a couple of tools and exercises that we have seen in the research, in the interview that we have with educators, as well as I've seen in like the incubator environment as well. The self-reflection mainly is the reflective exercise that asks social entrepreneurs, innovators to spend some time and also space in their life for some reflection, for journaling, understand where they are, understand where they come from, and how that influence a lot of the decision they have made or different like perspective they have had about like social and environmental issues. I like the way I show up. It is from a couple of professors that we interview, where they said that like sometimes it's also not just about the exercise or environment you create, but like just my way of showing up. If I develop and if I cultivate my inner well-being and I show up in a certain way, it is naturally create an environment for other people to thrive as well. Self-awareness. A lot of the professor mentioned about like mindfulness practices like breathing, guided meditation, but we also heard from one professor said that like walking in nature, so creating those kind of events or space for students, for aspiring social entrepreneurs to take some time and connect with nature. Resilience and empathy, not surprisingly, is a lot about engaging with your origin, with your family, with your support network, as well as with the communities. So a lot of the stress through the research, a lot of the stress actually comes from family or support network not being able to understand our change making work. So engage the family and support network back to connect back to the meaning and the impact of our work is important for social entrepreneurs to cultivate that resiliency. Definitely institutional support being mentioned a lot, where we create an educational environment, as well as the organizational environment for social entrepreneurs to thrive. A lot of also stress and misconception through around like career development, being a change makers. So one of the two being mentioned is purpose-driven career development, where we create environment as well as tool to support student, support aspiring change makers to be able to see career from different perspective and develop a plan for them to cultivate not only financial stability and impact, but also for their inner well-being as well. And again, empathy comes from connecting and engaging with local community, with the community that have that hold a lot of like purpose and impact in their heart, as well as a space for the group work and collaborative experience. So those are the things that we have seen so far emerging in the research project. Would definitely love to explore more with you in the discussion later on. So I'm going to pass it on to Eidi.
Hi, everybody. It's lovely, lovely to meet you. I'm going to be sharing my screen. So one second. Can you see my screen? You cannot. Wonderful. And I'm going to be sharing a few resources with you. So this is going to be very helpful. And I love the synchronicity that we have between the three speakers today, and everybody at Catalyst, and what we're presenting is amazing. And it really is a testament that we are kind of going in the right direction. So I love it. I think you can probably see yourselves, but you are all beautiful. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that. Perfect. I come from Ashoka. I'm the director of strategy and engagement for Ashoka U. And this is the logo of Ashoka U down here. It's kind of hiding. And it's very much tied to our main purpose, which is to create a world where everyone is a change maker. And part of this comes from the 4,000 fellows across 40 years of Ashoka, of experience of Ashoka globally. We have fellows in 90 countries, and from them, millions of stories and millions of change makers that have participated in their purpose and in their work through their communities. These fellows have created communities, and they have distilled all these lessons for 40 years. And from this distillation, let me just turn this one. From this distillation, we can see that we have a clarity on a world where everyone has a capacity and opportunity to contribute and create positive change in this world, and everybody's powerful, everybody has a voice, everybody has access to needed resources, and everyone can thrive. And we have discovered 4 skills and 4 main core skills that are part of this. But before we dive into those, I wanted to bring to your attention this study, and it is a series of studies that were published and edited by Goldstein in 2011, and they were published by the MIT Press, and they emerged from the tragedy that took place at Virginia Tech in 2007. And through these studies, I discovered that crisis can offer opportunities for collaboration and consensus and building transformative social change. Communities often experience a surge of collective energy and purpose. And I think through what we heard at the beginning, and with Tam as well, we can see how, in fact, we're all trying to, through empathy and through the understanding of change making, we're trying to create community, and we're trying to reinvent the situation that we are in, whether it is an individual experience or it is a family experience, is a couple's experience, or is a communal experience. We're trying to emerge from it and reinvent the situation. And from these emerges resilience. So for me, this study is timely because it allows us to understand how this in fact has happened in very critical situations. They have examples in 4 different countries, so I recommend you have a look at this. And the 4 skills that we have that Ashoka has developed and has actually developed a tool have distilled from all this work that was done by 40 years of experience and all the distillation of the experience of the fellows and all their stories and the communities that they work with. And these are conscious empathy, organizing fluid and open integrated teams of teams, flexible leadership, we also call it changemaker leadership, and practicing changemaking in action. And so I would love to share with you some resources in a second. I'm a little bit distracted because I don't know if I'm supposed to let you see myself. There we go. There we go. No, I can't. I'm sorry. It's my fault because I'm sharing my slides. So if you go and do this tool, which has been created by Ashoka, you'll see that when you open these 4 skills, so conscious empathy, organizing open fluid integrated teams of teams, change-making leadership, and change-making practice, this tool offers you another 16 capabilities. And when we look at them closely, we can see the absolute importance of each one of them in our well-being and in the well-being of our communities. So again, it's extremely exciting when we hear that other people are also developing this beautiful research, and there are all these intersections that we're coming together in their understanding what you've been discovering, Tam. It's really exciting to see that, the empathy comes and resilience comes, and it's amazing. And so I would love to talk to you about it afterwards. It's exciting. So I want to show you these 4 skills because I would love to make this moment slightly interactive. I know we're going to have a moment for questions, but I would like you to just zoom in and look at these different capabilities and see which one of them kind of really resonate with you. When you go and do this tool, you have the advantage not only of learning about your capabilities and where you are in terms of them, but you also have the opportunity to have a series of resources from Ashoka. And why is this important? This is important and relevant to this conversation because we are coming together so powerfully as a network of social innovators and change makers. And what we want, some of the things that we want is, 1, we want to learn more. We want to make ourselves even more resilient. We want to strengthen our networks, and we want to share resources because we want these to be in the hands of others as well, so people can have tools and people can share these tools with their own communities. And this is partly of what's happened with fellows. Fellows have been able to continuously learn from their network and have been able to continuously share these tools and their learnings with their network. And this becomes a network of networks. So when you go to do these Changemaker Index, you will find inside not only the 16 capabilities I already showed you, but also you'll find all of these resources. This work has been developed by Diana Wells and for several years, and the team around her, and it continues to be more and more developed and share the thousands of resources that Ashoka has created for the last 40 years. We also have tools. And so here, for example, there's some books for children. There's some ways in which all of this is free. By the way, when you go in and do the Changemaker Index. And you can see all of these resources and share with your communities. And there's a toolkit and there's like books for children, etc. And again, how is this relevant to our ability to create well-being amongst change makers, social innovators, social entrepreneurs? Again, we need our community. We really need our togetherness. And we create togetherness not only by learning, which these tools are extremely helpful for, but also by having conversations and having a critical mind around what we are thinking even. So again, there's just a few resources that I think are quite helpful, I think. And the last resource that I would like to share with you is amongst the Ashoka universe. I haven't, done this course, but I have found that within the Ashoka universe, there is a specific Resilience for Changemaker course. This has already happened, but I just wanted to share with you, mostly because there is such a beauty when we come together and learn from each other. I'm going to stop there because I would love to enter into the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eidi. Wow, I think that you were right when you said that how amazing is the interconnection of our practices, and my mind is just blowing up about the possibilities that we should be creating together. But before discussing that, I would just like to open the floor for anyone who might be having some questions for me, Tanya, and Eidi. Please just jump forward. The idea is not just the three of us participating. Also, we expect you guys in the breakout room sessions later, but it'd be great to hear a little bit more of your perceptions and questions to us. Okay, I don't want to be the the guy just to jump in because no one is stepping up. But I can do a quick question. So I know that Tam is conducting a research, and this is the basic of the knowledge that were generated throughout this process. So Eidi, if you also would like to complement on how this model that you guys built have been validated and been included for the participation with people worldwide to provide these evaluations. And how, just one common question to both of you, how do you guys see the importance of the validation of those data into supporting for in the development?
Shall I go?
Go for it, Eidi.
Wonderful. You can find within our website kind of the scientific background that's been used with the University of Purdue to work on the validation of this tool. Is a work in progress. We're working on this, and we're working to continue to validate the capabilities. And I think more than an index to tell you and give you an evaluation is an empowerment tool. And then again, I think this is important too. We're not trying to say only if you do this, you are right. We're saying if you do this, amazing things are going to be built, not only in your community, in your initiative, in your endeavor, but in yourself. So this is kind of like the other angle. So we're excited to share with you and do more research too. I think the more the more, the stronger, the many tools and the many kind of, again, synchronicities that we have, the better.
Amazing. Tam, like to compliment on that?
Yeah, so I remember one social entrepreneur very in the early stage that came to me and say like, hey, after going through a lot of validation for like the idea of my solution, I don't think I will continue with that anymore. But the journey of exploring, understand myself, how to be a change maker, what is required to understand the system, and connecting my inner well-being with my action, that is really my personal growth kind of journey. And she appreciated so much. Now, echo to what Eddie just said, like everybody, as long as they have the passion to make change in the society and environment, they already have the power. But a lot of the dreams and the passion not turn into any kind of like substantial change into society. It's not because like it doesn't matter. It's not because like those kind of dream or passions is not worth enough, but it's just because like okay, do we prep the current generation and the future generation well for them to actually thrive, you know? And so I think the validation is important, especially when in a very chaotic environment and world that we have right now, is that like, how can we make that environment better so that we don't kill off the dreams and the passions right at the very early stage?
That's fantastic, guys. So we have some questions into the chat. So the first one, let me just check it here because it's changing. The first one by Aya Bari. I don't know if you want to ask a question or if I can read it. So let's go. How can one passionate about creating change by starting school for orphans, street children, and unprivileged children with enough resources and people are not willing to support? Sorry, I'm just reading. I think the key question here is how to start those movements and contexts without resources and without support and just moved by the passion. So please, everybody, just tell me if I got your question right. So a little bit of your perception about the challenges, and I can answer that coming from Brazil and a low middle income country, actually with less structure. I think that the key aspect here is to perhaps mobilize not just this inner development or this inner passion, but also to connect into a systemic view, to mobilize different stakeholders and different sectors and unite them into this purpose. But for sure that resilience in this context are much more challenged because of the lack of structure and resource. I don't know if Tam and Eidi want to reflect about this question as well.
Thank you. Yes, this is my background too. I started, my family and my parents founded an organization to work with very marginalized communities back in Mexico, where I'm from. I'm based in the US currently, and I'm right now in England, but come from Mexico. And I saw it firsthand, and I saw it being built from absolute grassroots. And so I would say the passion is obviously, you know, the fire that starts everything. And one of the way to keep that fire is knowing that we are trying to create organizing methods. We're trying to help them organize themselves. And this for me growing up really kind of clicked because we are all in one point or another going to be needing more resources to do the work that we want to do. And this sense of organization helps communities to themselves be organized. So one very simple example is that the women that were in very terrible situations of exploitation organize themselves, and some of them started looking after the children, some of them started working, and some of them started cooking and creating food for the community. And that way, the wages that were being made were shared with everybody, and all of the children were looked after, and the food was cooked for everybody. And this is very simple, right? We can think of that, this kind of work, and we can, like you were saying, Beto, you know, of systemic and, you know, all this framework change. But it's combined, I believe. We are doing both things at the same time. So I would say not lose hope, but also know that there are specific steps, like I'm sure you're already doing, of creating space for communities to develop their own initiatives and their own solutions as they're getting organized and see their own power, their own sense of agency, their own creativity.
I love Davy's passion on this. Thank you so much, Eidi. So, Tam?
Yeah, I would say it's a busy world, like change making world is pretty busy when it comes to like ideas, when it comes to like innovation, when it comes to like tapping into resources. So the resources and the support are there. It is just like, okay, there are a couple of work need to be done to lay a solid foundation before those kind of resources can come in, fall into place, and make things happen, you know? So a lot of the time people come in with a very passionate idea, but and also at the same time they calculate kind of like 1,000 step in advance, and it actually stopped them from starting anything. So really start small and have a trust in the universe and in the connection in the network that like the next step will be shown as you do the first one, the second one, third one. So I think those are the things that I would like to add there.
Just believe and get well connected, right? So we have actually a next question here that resonates a little bit on the flow that we are moving forward. Many change makers come from cultures where mental health is not openly discussed. How to normalize conversations within our networks? This time I'll go last, so I'll give the ball to Tam and then Eidi, and then I provide myself some questions, please.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question because at the same time, we always talk about like self-care, we always talk about like mental health, and then the society frames it in a way that like if we are not happy, we should be guilty of it and some things like that. Or is for certain environment, we're not supposed to talk about it, like in my culture. For a certain environment or other culture, it's kind of like, oh, you are supposed to be happy, etc. But I would say like whether we can open it up and talk or not is all comes with the communication and address all of the misconception around that before we can create a safe place for everybody to talk and to turn that like into a collective responsibility, you know? So one thing that I really like about like the concept around self-care, I attended one webinar and the speaker was talking about like, oh, we always talk about self-care is selfish or things like that. How about we look into self-preservation? I think that's a great one to address the importance of like, okay, without that, the next work won't be done. Like without that, the impact we want to create won't be there. So if we can like address all the misconception around those kind of topic, then the communication will happen, and then the next step will happen as well. That's what I think.
Eidi, what about you? How can we normalize discussions about mental health?
Yeah, I think this is a big one. I think creating one of the things that I think are really making mental health issues, exacerbating them basically, is isolation. And part of this isolation is also, you know, the constant trying to censor the things that we don't like to hear. So that's part of polarization, etc. So I think one project that I recently heard about, and I was really impressed by it, is coming together from different communities and different political views. And the whole initiative is to create friendships. And so I think the bringing difficult topics or bringing topics that are not culturally accepted, such as mental health in different cultures, has to happen in these little conversations, in these smaller moments that are so important for our soul, and they happen when we come together with openness to create friends, to have friends, to make friends. So this initiative that I heard about recently is like, that's its whole purpose. And it's amazing that our society has gone to such extreme that work needs to be orchestrated by others for us to create friendships these days. But I think it really responds to the need that we need to the need that we all have to reweave the fabric of our society at that level. And through that weaving and through that and integrating, we can have those conversations and start talking about it again.
So cut isolation off, and in my perspective, actually, is to start as soon as possible, just for ourselves. So if we open ourselves about our conditions, about how we are feeling, breaking out our own egos and sharing within people, this will mostly benefit us, creating those safe environments and safe spaces and safe connections in which we have the liberty not just to talk, but to walk the talk and actually share our feelings out. And the other aspect, in my point of view, is prioritizing the investment for children, adolescents, and even from early years, having those spaces connected to the daily routine is an imperative to the growth of more connected and more empowered and resilient human beings. So, Kenya, you have a question for us? Kenya, your hand is up. Kenya. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I was trying to unmute my mic. Hi, everyone. I'm reaching out from Nigeria, where I live. I'm from Nigeria, and I live in Nigeria. I don't have a question, but I just want to contribute to the conversation on the mental health and how we can normalize it. Right. In my community, there's a thing we do. We started with my friend about 5 years ago. God bless her soul. She's late now. She died sometime 2 years ago. But yes, it's called Heal to Lead. So we bring a community of leaders that will go through the process of healing together and to be able to lead. Because I understand that as change makers, we cannot create change where we're coming from a place of hurt or from a damaged space. And all of us have one reason or the other to heal or to seek help without any form of discrimination. And again, I would say that we work together as social innovators, right? And we know the pressure that comes with the work that we do. If we can work together, holding each other accountable for our mental health, so that it will go a long way in helping us to be stable, all right, and to help individuals heal. So in programs, just like we're having this event now, there's a thing that Catalyst does, that after event, you begin to introduce yourself and have that little party after the event. Is always fun. So even if I'm not at the event or maybe at the virtual meeting, and I'm able to connect towards the end is a big deal for me, because that helps me a lot to cool off from the pressure that the social innovative work brings it to play. So I would say that like Nigeria, we are big on religious matters. Okay, so if in religion institutions we talk about mental issues, mental health issues, and how we can help each other come off it, or find therapy, or some sort of help through the religious institution, it will go a long way, because that is where most people go to seek help, because we're a religious country. All right, so if it's in the mosque or in the church, there should be a form of help through those institutions for people to normalize. So that conversation should be even in those spaces that we find ourselves. Thank you so much.
Beautiful point raised, Kenya. Thank you so much. Just to resonate a little bit, my reflection on our comment is people want to be heard. That is the first medicine that we should be looking at for the other and from ourselves. So, and we also need to speak out. So, thank you so much. And you won't need to be waiting to the end of the session, because now we have the breakout room, so we have time to chat, we have time to know each other. So just moving forward with our agenda today, I would just like to ask Cindy, perhaps, to divide us into the breakout rooms. Please just introduce yourselves, say where you're speaking from, what is your passion, and then the key topic for us to be discussing should be how did your lived experience influence in the decisions in terms of social change. So I hope to be seeing part of you in my group. So we'll be dividing into 3 groups, right, Cindy? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so see you guys.
Okay, then we can
Yes,
launch.
we are divided into groups. You're going to get an invite to go into the breakout room. And then if you can accept that, you'll go straight in and be good to go.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'll be back. I at the same time I love the breakout rooms, but I hate the time that's so short and so much things that we still need to be discussing to the sessions. But it's part of the program. So just coming back, I think that we could be sharing a little bit of a glimpse of what was discussed into the working groups. So I was together with Brenda, Amara, Goodlove, and Penina. So I'd just like to ask if anyone would like to share a little bit of what we learned from each other during these short minutes. No? Yeah, Brenda, please come forward.
I just wanted to bring up the point that Goodlove made, and I think it was because it was it's pretty profound in terms of the work that we do as systems change agents, that it's that we need to connect together and stay and support one another, because it's often a very lonely path, and we can lean on each other more.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Brenda. Indeed, mental health for social entrepreneurs and for organizations here in Brazil was actually highlighted as one of the key challenges for this year. So having these spaces are definitely crucial. So for the second group, I don't know if Eidi, Tam, or who presented that would like to also to present some of the reflections, please.
I think we were very social, and so we only got through kind of introductions, not to discussion yet, but it was lovely to hear about people and their work.
Yeah, in our room, we did not have the time to actually go through everybody. But what Kalivani mentioned about like the current project that she's working on is very interesting and very on point in a way that like she is in Malaysia, and the ability to break the stigma around like mental health and get like the like different generation working to agree on like mental health is important is already like a big task. Uh, and it's something that she's working on to actually support like young people to continue to have those kind of important conversation and move forward with that. Yeah.
I remember, if I may, that I had a little point earlier before we broke into the different rooms about Kien Pia's point was very important because she mentioned the institutions. And so there is this work at the institutional level that needs to be done to normalize mental health and the conversation around mental health. So I just wanted to kind of like, bubble that up because it's a huge point and one that we're all, or a lot of us, working on too. So, well, thank you, Kimpia.
Thank you so much, Eidi. So anyone else wants to jump in and contribute to the discussion? If not, well, I think that I can summarize, and this was an amazing session. Just want to launch in the first hand that we have this project to build and validate high impact ecosystems, as I presented to you earlier. So Catalyst is part of the advisory board for us to build this vision. We should be having our launch meeting at the EcoSoc Prep Finance for Development session in New York later this month. And it would be great to meet you and perhaps to continue those discussions. I'm sure that together with Debbie, we might promote other rounds just like that in order to strengthen this impact ecosystem that we have at Catalyst, and actually to combine our purposes, our efforts to what is actually important, which is funding and sustainable financing. I think that is one of the key leverage points that we need to build this care culture and this inner development and social development approach. So I would like to just pass the ball to Cindy if you have any other topics that would like to be presented to the group, some events, I don't know, perhaps other things that Catalyst wants to be promoting.
Yes. So thank you so much, Beto. It was really amazing. First of all, I'm going to quickly just launch the poll, and we would like, if you can just give us quickly your input, it really helps us improving ourselves and knowing what to offer in the previous sessions. Then I'm going to share with you our upcoming opportunities. The first one, it's the Understanding Systems for Lasting Impact. It's the last learning session on this series. It's going to bring together Daniela and James. They are about to publish a book. So they want to share more about that and promote their findings. The session is going to be next Thursday on the 10th of April. And this one is going to be on 5 p.m. Central European Time and 11 a.m. ET. So we will send you all the details, of course, and you will see the promotion around in our groups. Next up are the upcoming fundraising series, the ones on the toolkit, and then the collaboration with the Black Fox. Feel free to register for the ones that you prefer, and you can always find every event on the Catalyst event website. With this event comes to an end, and thank you so much to Eidi, to Beto, and to Tam for an amazing session, and all to the participants who contributed with their amazing questions. So yes, Thank you so much. And as we always close up those sessions, we can say goodbye in our languages, and we'll see you in our upcoming ones. So bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Great session.
Hasta pronto.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Beto. Thank you, Eidi.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Tam. Thank you, Beth.